What's up, everyone? Vincent here from Hidden Gems, this time with the artist Bob Dylan and the album The Freewheelin Bob Dylan. Everyone knows of his singles, and especially on this record, Blowing in the Wind, which was the second single off of this record. Everyone knows that, and everyone also has probably played this song, Blowing in the Wind, in their guitar classes, either in high school or whenever they were learning guitar. I know I had to, so that song is already well known, but listening to an album front to back for him, which I've never done before, was very interesting, and I actually really enjoyed listening to his record all the way front to back, hearing his style and hearing his different variations within the record, even though for this album it was very much just him with a guitar and with a harmonica. So I would have to say you have to be in the right mindset to not hear what you hear today, more of like the electronic sounds with keyboard synths, stuff like that. This record was very bare bones, and most of Bob Dylan stuff, which I'm sure is all bare bones until he decided to add electronic music, which of course is more of like a history lesson than just an album lesson. But for this record, it was very upfront, just him, an acoustic guitar, and his harmonica, and just his interesting way of songwriting, which was either mostly verses with no choruses or mostly verses with a slight chorus just to break up the song and keep it moving. So I really liked, I don't want to say simple, because of course writing a song isn't simple, but when you hear it, you're just like you get the message, you get what he wanted it to portray, and you get what drove him to keep moving forward, especially with the genre folk music, which is very more so bare bones, just you and a guitar and what you want to really say through either a poetic theme or just how you want to write the song with just the verses and no choruses. So I would recommend listening to this entire record. Love the whole thing, but I would also suggest being in the right mindset, because if you're not in the right mindset to listen to a bare bones album, you may not appreciate it as much as you'd like to. What got me in the folk mindset was watching the movie Inside Llewyn Davis. Great movie with Oscar Isaac in it, which I recommend watching just in general, but it really gives you that folk feel, and it really gets you that I want to dive more into folk music and maybe want to listen to more folk stuff, especially the Bob Dylan era in the 60s, where he was all over the place pretty much and writing an album every so often. So loved this record, loved everything about it, and loved how great it was. So for the singles itself, like I said, Blowing in the Wind was the second single and the most well-known single, but for me, the song I liked the most is Don't Think Twice, It's Alright. Like how the song has the song title as the last line for each verse, and it kind of like grows into a story. So a lot of people interpret this as a song for Bob Dylan's girlfriend and saying how he missed her, but the way he says it is it's about making yourself feel better about the situation at hand and to like rationalize everything. So thought this single was the best single on this, even with Blowing in the Wind as the song that's heard the most, but really enjoyed that single. For the Hidden Gems, really liked Girl from the North Country, another song about a girl that's just very simple with just verses and guitar carrying it throughout the song, and then has a harmonica solo to end the song. Just another great one, mostly about his hometown and how everything goes on that end, but great song, Girl from the North Country. Masters of War, very interesting song, and how he kind of sees it from a different perspective. Of course, it's about the Vietnam War and how it's a BS war, about sending young people to die for something they don't even care about, and people making major decisions in changing these young people's lives without even knowing them and telling them they have to do this or the world's over pretty much. Just a very powerful song and a very interesting listen at the time, considering that this is a very time-based song, meaning like if you're in the time, you totally know the meaning. So hearing it now, it just gives you a different perspective as to what people were thinking back then about the Vietnam War, especially the people against it. So I really enjoyed that song. Oxford Town, this was an interesting one. This was more so about how a gentleman named James Meredith got accepted into the University of Mississippi, but he was a black man in the South. So it was more of like Dylan's perspective on what might happen or what news articles might come up. That's how I took it. So it gives more of like a foreshadowing of like what he may be going through while being one of the first to attend University of Mississippi at that time. So again, another timepiece song that makes you really think and realize like times have changed, but not that far off. Again, this was sung in 1963, and we're in 2021, so 50 years about that. So great song, and a really interesting songwriting for the time at the time for what was going on. Another one I really liked, Talking, World War III Blues. This was more about the hysteria for the Cold War and what people were going through, how the fear of communism changed people's views of others, and how it affected life. So it's like a different mindset of like how people communicated back and forth with all of this fear of communism and how everything went. So again, another timepiece song, and it kind of again shows light of what living in that time was like for people without the internet, getting their news straight from newspapers. So very interesting song in that regard, and really enjoyed that one. And the last song that I liked the most was A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. This is considered one of Bob Dylan's best songs of all time. From what I researched, it looked like it's his number 2 greatest song of all time from what reviewers have said, but really liked how it was. Different song structure for Bob Dylan on this one. Each verse is like the start of a song from how he described it, so he used each line of saying like this is a line for how I'd start a song and just kind of build off of that, and then has a chorus in the middle to break it up. So it's the song structure is definitely very different from what his normal process is on the record, but a very deep and meaningful song, which I've never heard before up until now doing this album review. So really enjoyed the song. So I'd recommend listening to that song first, A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall, just to kind of get the vibe of the album, and then go from there. So again, the songs I liked the most were the single Don't Think Twice, It's Alright. Hidden Gems were Girl from the North Country, Masters of War, Oxford Town, Talkin' World War III Blues, and A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. Going through this mindset of folk music, so feel free to comment with any folk artists that you think I should dive into and learn more about the folk music genre. If you like the video, of course, like the video and subscribe more to get different genres and get different artists to possibly look at for folk music. So I'll be diving more of that in an artist perspective and sharing more of that if you're interested. So as always, subscribe to the channel, get those updates for new folk artists, and going from there. Thanks, guys.